the Disney Wish, the Disney Treasure, the Disney Destiny, and 2 more ships. They are the newest ships in the Disney Cruise Line's growing fleet. What makes these ships unique? That's today on the Diz Unlimited's DCL show. Hello and welcome to the Diz Unlimited's DCL show. I'm Chris Forbeck, one of the agents with Dreams Unlimited Travel. Thanks so much for joining us. Really thrilled you're here. And we've been looking at the different classes of ships. Disney now has so many. There are different classes of ships. The Magic class ships, the ships that started it all, the Dream class ships. Today, we're continuing our series looking at those different classes of ships, a deep dive, if you will. There are multiple cruise line ship classes, easy for me to say, across the fleet. And in addition to the Wish classes, there's also the Disney Adventure, which I think will be a one-off, one of its own. It will be based in Singapore, 6,700 guests. Yeah, it's a big one. But I think it'll be a one of a kind. And then we have a fourth class ship coming that we know almost nothing about. No names, we know almost nothing about it. We did a show about that earlier, and I'll have it in the show notes that you can find on dclfan.com. But as we noted earlier, with different classes of ship, each one is unique. They have their own personalities, and we discussed the Magic class, the Disney Magic, the Disney Wonder, the Dream class, the Disney Dream, the Disney Fantasy. Today, the Wish class. There are 3 of them so far: the Disney Wish, the Disney Treasure, soon to be the Disney Destiny, coming in November, and then 2 more as of yet unnamed Wish class ships. One will be based in Japan. The other, we know nothing, almost nothing about it. So other than it'll be a Wish class ship. With 5 Wish class ships and stepped up theming, we have a lot to talk about. So let me introduce my awesome colleagues. Always thrilled to have them here. My friend and colleague, Dreams Unlimited travel agent, Elaine Edwards. Hello, Elaine.
Hi, friends.
And theme park correspondent for the Diz, DCL fan, UO fan for Diz Unlimited, Chloe Fiera, is back with us today. And hello, Chloe. First off, let me say hi.
Ahoy. How are you doing today?
And I'm great. And of course, I always like to give credit where credit is due. Chloe gave us the idea for this series. She has written a story that you can find on dclfan.com about the Wish, Treasure, Destiny, which new Disney cruise line ship should you choose? And she has a great chart that she pulled together, putting the different intellectual properties, the different characters you can find on each ship. It's awesome. We will have it in the show notes on dclfan.com, so you can find it nice and easy. But thank you for being so smart, Chloe. You do a good job of it. And of course, we have an amazing producer, Jimmy Valdez. Jimmy is, I mentioned this on an earlier show, but Jimmy is headed off to Asia to check off 2 more of the Disney parks as he does his world tours. So Jimmy, we're very jealous.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
but I'll share photos. I'll send you photos and videos.
That's right. We all going to live vicariously through you, and we're going to have him. We're going to have him here to talk about some of those things and how they can connect with Disney Cruise Line trips that you may want to do. So we'll do that as soon as he's back, and maybe on some time zone as he tries to catch up. Jimmy, thanks for being here as always. I'm so excited to talk about these ships because they are very different from the earlier ships. But first, let me remind you that this show, along with everything we do at the Diz Unlimited, DCL Fan, UO Fan, it's all brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel. We are experts at helping you plan a magical Disney cruise, a visit to an amazing Disney theme park, your Universal adventure, Epic Universe. Oh, we're loving Epic. Even other cruise lines. No additional cost to book with Dreams Unlimited Travel, not a penny. But we're going to give you insights about your Disney cruise ship, your travel to Universal, whatever we're going to let you know all about it. This is what we do, literally. And by booking your cruise with Dreams Unlimited Travel, you can get a shipboard credit of up to $1,000, depending on the price of your cruise. I hear you scoffing, saying nothing's for free. This is one of these cases where you're getting free money to spend on board, and it doesn't cost you a dime. Best way to get started, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. And I always like knowing, by way of transparency, Elaine and I are Dreams Unlimited travel agents. This is our job. But guess what? We really love Disney. We really love Disney Cruise Line, in case you can't tell. we want you to have the best time possible. And our job, both here on this podcast and as agents, is to give you the information so you can make the best decision for you and your family. We hope you book with Dreams. We think it has some value and it allows us to do exactly what we're doing today. But if you don't, we still hope you have an amazing trip. So with that, let's talk about the Wish class ships. And I'm going to start off by, of course, this is a Disney Wish, the Disney Treasure, and the soon-to-come Disney Destiny, along with 2 other ships that we don't know much about and haven't seen yet. But Chloe, you wrote the story. Why? What makes? Give us. We're going to do the 30,000 before we dive down. These ships are very different from the earlier class ships, and a lot more characters and intellectual properties in these ships than on the other ships, right?
Yes, absolutely. I feel like the Wish class of ships is what your, I guess, first-time visitors to Disney World would imagine a Disney cruise is like, because there are a lot more intellectual property infused themes and characters throughout venues. That includes your dining rooms, your lounges, your carpeting throughout. It's not just hidden Mickeys anymore. There's full-on characters on different decks of the ship. You'll find, throughout, like I said, the carpets, the lighting, this different staterooms. It's just more distinctly Disney, as they like to say. So I honestly, I felt very inspired to make this comparison chart, which led to this show, because this is the class of ships from Disney Cruise Line that has the most theming throughout the ship. The previous classes had, that classic ocean liner feel with Disney touches. It still felt like Disney Cruise Line, what we come to know from the product and the brand, and, the guest services that we all love that Cruise Line delivers on. But starting with the Wish, it was a new sort of Disney experience. It has a lot of the things that we know and love from those previous ships, but it does feel like a completely new brand of ships. And as we know, the layouts are very different from what we're used to. But I'm still looking into it.
Yes, and people get a little agitato about that stuff. I always say Disney fans a little bit like we all love change as long as everything stays exactly the same. This class of ship is very different from its predecessors. Elaine, talk about your first experiences with the Wish class ships.
Yes. So I do want to kind of reiterate something that I do think is very interesting, what Chloe said, that everything, I mean, even like when you were talking about like the lounges and the bars and that kind of thing, on the Wish class, they're all related to a ride, a character, a movie, something like that. But when you're talking about the other 4 ships, I mean, like there's no Cadillac lounge, there's no Keys, there's no pink champagne bar. Like it is truly IP. It's very, very, very interesting that is, they're going all in on it. So my first experience was actually, so the Wish came to us in July of 22, and I went on it in September of 22. I actually did a back-to-back where I did a 3-night in concierge and then followed it immediately by a 4-night in non-concierge, because we knew that this was going to be a completely different ship. And I knew that 3 nights was not going to be enough to figure it out and dissect it. So, as a travel agent and as a person on a show about Disney cruising. So I even feel like in the 7 days, I still feel like I didn't even get to all of it. But I will tell you, I am one of the people that I do love the Wish. I really, really, really do. And I love the Elder ships. I love that they are truly like nautical. But the Wish is so bright and airy, and the rooms feel a lot more like luxurious. Like it really kind of, it's definitely moving in a more modern class of cruise ship.
Right.
And I really do like it a lot, despite, I mean, it does not matter what ship I'm on, I'm getting lost. Like, I don't know if I'm on the front. I don't know. I have no idea what deck I'm on. Like, I just hope that I'm traveling with somebody to lead me around. And so with the Wish, like, it didn't matter. I'm going to get lost no matter what ship I'm on. But there was some very odd, there was no like running track that went straight all the way around. There was more places where you had to go up or downstairs rather than kind of a straight through situation. And we'll get into that nitty gritty. But overall, I and above, I love the Wish. I will sail on it many, many times and have no problems with it.
Yeah, and I do want to mention, not only does we mentioned that theming is more seeped all the way through it. Even staterooms now have themes, as opposed to, again, the more nautical on the Magic and Dream class. They're going to be theming in each stateroom, so they've really stepped it up. Let me do just quickly a overview of what these ships are. The Wish class ships, all of them have essentially the same bones, right? The theming may be different on different ones, but the bones are all the same. The Wish class ships have all been constructed and are being constructed by the Meyer Werft shipyard in Hamburg, Germany. Padenburg. I'm sure I messed it up. Somebody will correct me. Other than the Magic class ships, which were built in Italy, all Disney cruise ships have been built in Germany. So they're all coming. They have a lot of experience with Meyer Werft. The Wish class ships are bigger than the other Disney ships. 144,000 gross tonnage. That's the terminology they use. The Dream class ships, by the way, are 130 gross tonnage. So just to give you a little bit, they're a little bit bigger. The Wish class ships carry 4,000 passengers, technically 4,116 passengers, a crew of 1,555. Just by comparison, the Magic class ships have a capacity of about 2,400, and the Dream class carries about 4,000. So it's similar to in terms of number of passengers. The Wish class ships have 15 passenger decks compared to 14 on the Dream class. The Wish class are 342 meters long. That's 1,120 feet. That's about the same as the Dream class ships, so it'll feel similar in that way. For the Dream class ships, or for the Wish class ships, 340 meters long. That's 1,120 feet. Just so you have some way of comparing that. If you laid the Empire State Building flat, it would be 1,250 feet. So it's longer than the Empire State Building. They have a beam of 39 meters, 128 feet. That's how long they are if you go from port to starboard. So a good size. They have a draft. That's how far down into the water they go, of 8.6 meters. That's 28 feet 2 inches. So they go pretty deep in the water, right? And they're 67 meters or 220 feet tall. That's taller than the Statue of Liberty. Pretty cool. 1,254 staterooms on these. For the Wish class ships, there are 74 concierge staterooms. That includes 23 concierge suites. That's almost double the number compared to the Dream class ships. So a lot more concierge staterooms, almost 6% of the total staterooms. Veranda staterooms, 877. 70% of all the staterooms have a veranda. 170 or 14% ocean view staterooms, and 123 inside staterooms, or about 10%. As Elaine mentioned, the Disney Wish was christened on June 9th, 2022. The ship has a theme of enchantment inspired by a fairy tale castle, and it does feel that way when you enter the Great Hall. Right when you enter the ship, the Great Hall has that very magical feeling. The statue in the Great Hall, Cinderella. The bow character, so they have art on the front, is Captain Minnie. The character in the stern at the very back of the ship is Rapunzel and Pascal from Disney's Tangled. The ship godchildren are all the children from Make-A-Wish, which I love. It was very sweet. The Treasure was christened on November 19th, 2024. It has a theme of adventure. And again, you can experience that right when you enter the Great Hall. It has very Arabian colors. It's very, you can almost feel it as soon as you walk in. The statue in the Great Hall is Jasmine and Aladdin riding the magic carpet. On the bow is Voyager Mickey. The characters on the stern are Captain Hook and Peter Pan. Love them. And the ship's godmother are the Walt Disney Company's cast, crew, Imagineers, and employees around the world. Also love that. Finally, on the Disney Destiny, as we say, this is still under construction, but it has a hero-villain theme. Statue in the Great Hall, Black Panther. On the bow, Hero Mini. Sorry, different outfits for each ship. It's very cool. Characters on the stern: Spider-Man and his Spider Bots, and the Disney Destiny is scheduled to have its maiden voyage in November 2025. There are 2 additional Wish class ships coming, one coming in 2027 and the other one in 2028. The 2028 ship will be based in Japan, and we know almost nothing about these ships so far, so we will certainly share that as we come across. All right, let's start a bit with dining, because again, as we mentioned, dining very different and a lot of changes. I'm going to talk about the ones that are the same first. All of the ships have 1923. This is Deck 3 midship, right off the Grand Hall. They present an homage to a Disney legacy, 1923 being the year the Walt Disney Company was founded. And if you're a Disney fan, this is really a feat. They have all sorts of Disney history and lore in there, and it's really a fun place to spend some time. The second rotational dining location is Worlds of Marvel, again on all the Wish class ships. It's Deck 4 aft. This location has an element of an interactive show. You may even meet one of your favorite superheroes. Pretty cool. They have screens and do different things, so it's pretty cool. The third location, which is Deck 5 aft, has much more of a show element. On the Disney Wish, it's Arendelle, a frozen dining adventure. The Disney Treasure, it's Plaza de Coco, based on the Disney Pixar movie. And on the Disney Destiny, it will be Prideland's Feast of the Lion King. And with that, Chloe, talk about these, particularly, I think the 3 locations, Arendelle, Plaza de Coco, and we don't know much about, well, we know a lot about Pridelands, but we haven't actually experienced it yet. But these are essentially theater in the round kind of while you're dining. I mean, they're fun spaces.
They really are. We can see that they were starting to explore this on the Magic and the Wonder
class. Yeah.
Back from their dry dock. We have Tiana's and Rapunzel's dining experiences. I'm forgetting the names of them right now. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, it's good.
But they kind of dip their toes in, let's entertain people while they're having dinner. So it's kind of like a little mini show of sorts. So they've expanded on that, and now there's an entire show going on throughout your appetizer, entree, and dessert courses in these dining rooms. And so with the Wish, you have the Frozen, and then for the Treasure, you have Coco, which blew me away. I cannot wait to go back on the Treasure. I love those shows. And with that one, you have 2 shows because of the longer itinerary. Anyways, and then the Destiny, we have the Lion King. And then they also have unique menus for each of these dining rooms, which is something I'm pretty sure that's exclusive to this class, where these dining rooms have those unique menus for each show that they have going on. There's no shared menus across other dining rooms on the other ships, where we've come to know kind of like the same food items. We have our favorites, of course, but there are kind of like recycled menus going on across the ships. And then these dining rooms have their own, inspired by the show and the theme that's going on throughout. So I love them. Go ahead.
I'm going to bring Elaine in a second, but talk a little bit about the theming. We mentioned the theming. The theming in Plaza de Coco just blew me away. Well, in Arendelle as well. They have, you walk in there and you feel like you're walking in. I mean, just so envelops you into this space and place.
So both of these dining rooms, I'm assuming it'll be the same on the Destiny. Both of these dining rooms are located on the back of the ship. So in order to travel back to that dining room, you have to go down this long hallway, and it's flanked with portholes or decoration on either side of you. And it kind of sets the tone that you're stepping into the story. So for the Arendelle one, you see the girls, their clothes, you see the wallpaper that you see in their palace, you see just little Norwegian touches throughout, and that sets the scene for Frozen. And then you step into the dining room and you're there. For Coco, it's the same thing. It sets the theme from that hallway all the way down to the dining room, where you finally approach the ofrenda, which is probably the most beautiful part of that dining room. I could spend forever just staring at that. They did so well with that. It's straight out of the film. And then for the Destiny, we'll see. I'm assuming it'll be African inspired and looking like you're stepping into the Serengeti or stepping onto the savannah, and taking in the Lion King. So they really do a good job of setting the theme as you're walking through. And then the whole dining room, I mean, from your tableware, from the decorations around, from the lighting that they've chosen, and then again, like the music outside of the showtime, you're in that story. It's great.
Yeah. Elaine, it's interesting because these are a very special, and when I hear back from clients, they love these spaces because they're very interactive, they're very immersing. You talked about how you felt when you were in Arendelle.
Yes, I mean, I love this. It is no secret that I love a theme, and I love how I am not the only one dressing to match the dining room. Like, dressing to match. I mean, even in 1923, people are dressing like it. Just Arendelle is truly something really special, and I cannot wait to go to Coco and see that one because I think that one is going to be even more so. It's just, and it's not just for kids. That's a great thing. This is not even just a kiddie meal. We're not going to Chuck E. Cheese here. Like, this is highly entertaining for adults. Adults love it. And the menus, as Chloe said, thank goodness the menus, because it's not your herb roasted chicken and your prime rib. Like, it is, they are going deep dive into making these menus match the theming of the restaurants. And I absolutely love it. I am very curious to see how they are going to transition this over to Lion King, because, for Arendelle and for Coco, I mean, obviously you have people. So how are we going to have elephants singing these songs? Or I have already speculated on the show that they're probably, maybe it's going to be like a Timon and Pumbaa hosting it kind of a situation. Maybe it'll be like Festival of the Lion King. I mean, I don't know, but it'll be very interesting because I think this one is truly going to be a big leap even from the other two. So it's going to be something really cool to see when it comes out.
And I think all of us are expecting, they really, Arendelle was amazing. They really kicked it up a notch when they did Plaza de Coco, and just the theming in that space is amazing. So, Disney's making their life hard. Now they really have to step it up again. But I'm really, I think we're all really looking forward to this. So let me just touch on the other dining locations. So you get all the ships have a Marceline Market, which is the reimagined buffet location, essentially. What is Cabanas on the other? It's deck 11 aft, and it is. There are more kind of stations around, but it's a lovely space. There is also poolside dining, which coincidentally is near the pool. It has been completely reimagined, and frankly, they did just an awesome job. It's called Mickey's and Friends Festival of Food, and there are a number of locations. There's like a Chipotle. There's places that you can, of course, get burgers. My son didn't step away from the barbecue. He just got there, and they just kept piling barbecue on.
The barbecue at Mickey and Friends Food Festival is actually provided by Four Rivers, which is a local Orlando barbecue franchise, and it is delicious. It's a very popular place here, and so to see that it made it onto Disney Cruise Line is huge. They have their own food truck in Disney Springs as well, so if you're on property and you want to try them out, but it is quality barbecue up top. And honestly, like, I found myself going to Mickey and Friends Food Festival way more than Marceline. I don't know, the Chipotle, like you said, the Mexican, I think it's Donald's Cantina. So it's like build your own burrito, build your own Mexican bowl. Fantastic. Of course, we have our classic chicken tendies and French fries. There's fresh fruit slices. And that's also where you get the unlimited ice cream on the top deck.
And by the way, they brought Donald's over when the Disney Dream went into dry dock. They brought in the Donald, so you can now get that on the Disney Dream too, which is awesome. We assume they're going to do that on the Disney Fantasy when it goes into dry dock later this year. So that's going to be added to the at least the Dream class ships as well. So really cool. And it is, I agree with you. The what we call quick service food is really, really exceptional on this class of ship. It's really awesome. I just wanted to touch base on coffee because the Cove Cafe, many people love Cove Cafe from the other ships. Well, to find Cove Cafe is a bit of a scavenger hunt on this ship. It's all the way back, and we're going to talk about adult areas. It's all the way back on the back of the ship, and it's even on the side that you don't come in on. So if you find it, kudos to you. You get a star. It's still located near the adult pool area, but it's back there. The nice thing is there are other locations throughout the ship where you can get gourmet coffees. I get my steeped tea, which I love, but Cove Cafe itself is way back there. All the Wish class have this Sunday sweet shop, as they have on all the more modern ships. They are located right near Marceline Market, Deck 11, and these are all very exceptionally well themed. The Disney Wish has Inside Out Joyful Sweets. Disney Treasure has Jumbalo Sweets, which is, remember the scene on the Utopia where they get the ice cream shop? So it's based on that. It's really cool. The Disney Destiny will have Edna a la mode sweets, and this is Edna Mode's Lab. It's inspired by a Disney Pixar show a short, and Aunt Edna. So if you haven't seen it, it's on Disney Plus, and go find it. I'll put it in the show links too, so you can find it easy. Adult only dining, Deck 12 aft. There is still Palo, but on these ships, it's Palo's Steakhouse, serving premium steak and also Italian dishes. And if you want even really fancy, Enchanté. This is French food crafted by Chef Arnaud Lemont. See how I just kind of mumble it because I know I'm not pronouncing it correctly. He also created the menus on Remy, on the Disney Dream and Disney Fantasy. It's I haven't eaten on either of these, but if it's anything like Remy and it's awesome. So there's also the Rose. This is an adult-only lounge themed around Beauty and the Beast. Has fantastic views, delicious drinks. Just a reminder that for adult-only dining, there are additional charges that apply. So just remember that. We're going to talk about the rest of the lounges in just a moment, but let's talk entertainment. Pools. There are 10 of them, decks 10, 12, 14. And this is, and in fact, I'm going to stop there. And Elaine, the pools are very different because on the Dream and other class ships, there's like a kid's pool, kid's soup, and then a kind of Mickey's pool for the little kids. But this is very different, right?
Not only is there mini pools, as you can imagine, they're a lot smaller. A lot of them are very weird shapes and configurations and that kind of thing. So you might be sitting in a few inches of water, or you may be sitting in this round glass front, like up to here, everybody can see everything pool. Like it's very different. So, but I think that people have they kind of like find like their pool that they like to go to and they spend all of their time at. I have found on this ship. And so it is, I mean, I like it rather than just having like one giant people soup pool. It's, anything that you can do to get away from the big crowd is a good thing. And I have found that people that maybe haven't done their research don't realize the number of pools that there truly are. And so the majority of these pools that I went to, there's very few, if any, people in them, actually in them.
And up on the top deck, kind of the hidden pool is a very top all the way forward. It's not always open because it gets windy up there, but there's a pool where if you want quiet space and quiet time, you can find that there. It's glorious. Family friendly still, but you can find quiet space up there. There also are slides. There's a kid slide, and I forgot to write down the name, but Toy Story, based on Toy Story, and a Toy Story play zone, a splash zone for the little kids who can't go in the pool. Remember, as always, on all cruise ships and Disney Cruise Line, you must be potty trained, no swim dives. You have to be potty trained to go into the pool. So just always remember that. There's also the Wish class have the Aqua Mouse as opposed to the Aqua Duck. This is billed as the first dark ride at sea. The Aqua Mouse has different Mickey and Minnie shorts as you go up, and then it's a water slide on the way down. It's fun. It's a water slide. It's I tend to like the Aqueduct better, but I've spent more time on those other ships. So I'm on the Disney Treasure for Thanksgiving. So we'll see how we get it. Also, in terms of entertainment, the Wish class has not one but two movie theaters: the Neverland Cinemas, the Wonderland Cinemas. So you can see, and they do first run movie theaters stuff. Let's talk a little bit about the Broadway-style shows, because these are so awesome. The Disney Wish has Seize the Adventure. This is unique to these the Wish class ships. So you'll see them there and on the Disney Adventure, but very fun. The Disney Wish also has a Little Mermaid. Disney Treasure has Seize the Adventure, Beauty and the Beast, which you can see on other ships, but it has Disney Tales of Moana. Oh, we're going to talk about it in a second. The Disney Destiny has Seize the Adventure. It has Frozen, a musical spectacular, which you can again see. It's pulled from, I believe, The Dream. And then it has Disney's Hercules, which I'm so looking forward to. Chloe, talk a little bit about these shows, and particularly, I know both of us were on the Treasure together, and our socks were blown off by Moana.
Oh yeah, Moana set the bar for Disney Cruise Line productions. I enjoyed a lot of them in the past. I almost always go to these shows, whatever cruise I'm on. But Moana is a do not miss. Like, you want to book a cruise so you can see that show and see the other things on the ship, but I digress. Moana is amazing. The puppet, the Tafiti puppet, is incredible. I think she's 15 feet tall, and the transformation from that is just beautiful. They just like seemingly effortlessly pull it off. And I know we talked about it in the past, but the upcoming Destiny ship in the same class, I overheard the show creators for the Hercules show coming to the Destiny talk about how, Moana set the bar for them too, creatively, and they wanted to top that with Hercules. So I'm even more hyped for Hercules. They have these huge Hydra puppets and huge, what was the other puppet that they had created for Hercules? I'm forgetting the character's name, but they've created really massive props and puppets for that too. So I feel like we're kind of entering a new wave of show styles on Disney Cruise Line. Still like Broadway style, but I feel like these are just have a little more oomph to them. And yeah, I can't wait to see what's next, honestly.
They have 1,000% kicked it up a notch, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't want to kind of go away from the other shows though, because all three ships have Seize the Adventure, which is a really cute show. It's hosted by Goofy, as he's captain of the ship in that famous line, "What could possibly go wrong?" with Goofy captaining the ship. But they kind of introduced a couple of different characters from popular movies. I remember I think it was Mulan and Merida, and is it Moana? Am I remembering that correctly?
Moana's in there. Yep.
Like this medley that comes together, and it kind of gives me Harmonious vibes, where they take a couple of popular songs and they create this beautiful medley all together. But it's kind of like it's kind of like a light compilation show that we've known from cruise line productions in the past, kind of like Golden Mickey's or Believe, or Disney. Is it Believe and along those lines? But I really enjoy it, and it's usually on the first night of your cruise, so it's introducing you to the Walt Disney Theater and kind of setting the tone for the rest of your trip. So
and Seize the Adventure is also a little bit shorter than some of the other ones. It's shorter than certainly Moana, so it makes it, I think, is more accessible, particularly that first night. There's been a lot of going on, so it's nice to have that, but it's really a great show. Elaine, you were on the Disney Wish. What did you think of those shows? You have a great phrase for the Little Mermaid show.
Yes, immediately. When I saw it, I started comparing Little Mermaid to Jesus Christ Superstar. I mean, that is what it is. They are truly coming out with a box as regular people, handing out costumes while they're singing, putting them on and putting on this production. I mean, it is Jesus Christ. It is what it is. So if you like that, it's great, which I liked it. It's not the high level production. It is a very, like, when you're talking about Broadway stage show, it is a very watered down version. And so it is good. I wouldn't go out of my way to see it again, to be honest, I don't go out of my way to see any of the Broadway shows, but on Disney Cruise Line. But that's because I am what I am. I'll sleep. So if I sit in one place,
Elaine and I don't speak the same language around shows, so I am in every show all the time, never miss it. So,
but all three shows on the Wish are great. I do.
Yeah.
I do think that all three of them are great. Seize the Adventure gave me like PhilharMagic vibes because I think it's kind of the same kind of like that. And then Aladdin was fantastic.
yes,
Aladdin
that's right.
was
I forgot to mention Aladdin.
and that was, if you remember when The Wish debuted, they didn't have everything going at the same time. And it took a while before all of the shows were going and that kind of thing. And so when we were on it in September, we were watching Aladdin, and at some point, like the entire theater just went dark, and it was like there was nothing going on. Everything shut down. Everybody ran off stage. The theater was dark. So everybody turned on their phone flashlights and we all started singing together. I mean, like, it was a fun little moment. And then they started back up eventually and finished the show. But it really was a beautiful show. And I just want to, when Chloe was talking about the Moana and how they pulled it off and the production of it and everything, what I think is very interesting is how far ahead they start truly working and planning these shows. We have a friend of the show that I will not name, but he formerly worked for Disney Cruise Line on the shows. He was an actor and dancer in them. And he, back before The Wish was ever like debuted, he told me, he said the next ship, the show is going to be Moana. And I mean, so you're talking about years in advance. They already knew that the show was going to be Moana. So I can imagine how far ahead they start working on these things. It's pretty incredible.
It is amazing. Let me quickly go through the kids clubs because we've done a lot in other shows about kids clubs, but I don't want to not mention them because as we mentioned, the shows got to kick up. The kids clubs, all the kids clubs on all Disney ships are amazing. These are super amazing. It's a Small World nursery, which is kids age 6 months to 3 years. Just an incredible space. I wanted to hang out in there. It was just lovely. Disney Oceaneer Club and Oceaneer Lab, they've been shifted in terms of location. These are age 3 to 10. They're deck 2 midship. Literally, there is a slide that your kids can take from the Grand Hall, down to the kids club. I mean, and I got to do it. It was cool. The edge and the spaces, they have a Star Wars space. They have a Marvel space. You actually can create your costume, and as you get more points, which I was not good at because I'm not good at these things, but you can create your costume, and then you can actually take that, you tap your magic band or your key to the world card, and you can take that and it changes how the show operates up in the worlds of Marvel. It's really cool. I mean, just awesome. There's a princess space. It's really, really cool. Very fun. The Edge is for tweens. That's on deck 5 aft. It's a lovely space. And they have Vibe and Hideaway for teens. They're located on deck 12 aft. I should also note that there are some family friendly lounge areas. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. There isn't a basketball court, much to my son's chagrin. There isn't a quote unquote basketball court. There is a mixed use area on this ship. Sometimes it's a basketball court. Sometimes they're using it. They have big blow-ups, and it's like a course that you get your way through, which is very fun. A well-used space and very nice. And they have air hockey in there and all sorts of other things. So they do programs in there. It's very fun. But let's talk about lounges because there is not, unlike other ships, there isn't outside of the adult dining area, there isn't an adult only area as there are on the Magic and Dream class ships. This is, again, outside of that dining space, but there are lounges. And much like the pools, they're kind of spread out throughout. And they have different theming. So I'll just point out one. The Bayou on the Disney Wish becomes Skipper Society based around Jungle Cruise. On the Treasure, it will be the Sanctum based on Doctor Strange for the Destiny. So they keep all of these. I should note that there is the Star Wars Hyperspace Space Lounge on the Wish. There is Haunted Mansion Parlor on both the Disney Treasure and Disney Destiny. Chloe, talk a little bit about these lounges, because this is one of the changes that's very different, but there's this theming that is just wrapped around these things.
Yeah. So I remember when I first stepped foot on the Wish, something that I was most looking forward to on this ship was the newly revamped, I guess you could say, lounges, because this was the first ship that fully envelopes you in each of these themes within each of the lounges. The one that stood out on the Wish, of course, was the Star Wars Hyperspace Lounge, because this is the more intimate lounge that was themed. It closely resembles the now defunct Galactic Star Cruiser, and it features a $5,000 Star Wars drink that includes a trip to Skywalker Ranch. So it was definitely the most talked about lounge, and it's pretty cool inside. I personally prefer a more rough and tough cantina like we get in Hollywood Studios, but it still is really cool to have an actual, adult space that's themed to Star Wars, and it's family friendly up until a certain time in the evening as well. And then we have the Tiana's Lounge. I think it's the Bayou, which is kind of the open space that they play live music, and there's themed drinks, and there's like flowers hanging down. So it's really pretty, reminiscent of The Princess and the Frog. And then we do have kind of a mostly unthemed pub on board too on the Wish, but there's a few like Disney touches. There's like hidden Disney snacks that some of the octopuses in the portholes are holding, and this kind of felt like this. Okay, let's dip our toe into theming and let's see what we could do on the future ships. So on the Treasure, that same space is themed to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which is incredible,
so awesome,
especially for Disney Parks fans. And of course, the Treasure is the one that had the debut of the Haunted Mansion Parlor, which is by far the best bar lounge that they've ever created on a Disney cruise ship ever. I personally feel like the drinks could use some enhancing. They're a little too, not too involved, but they're a little too sweet. Like there's too much going on, and they're a little too
syrupy. Like soft drinks.
Yeah, essentially. Whether you order a mocktail or a cocktail, they're just a little too sugary. And I wonder if they kind of did that on purpose to discourage people from hanging out all night, because if they had fantastic drinks in this tiny themed area, like beautifully themed Haunted Mansion area, people would just never leave. I have heard that they have like a time limit or a drink limit per person though anyways, but I seriously cannot get enough of the Haunted Mansion Parlor. At first, when I heard that this same space was going to be on the Destiny, I was like, really, again? Why can't people just go on the Treasure? But honestly, after stepping foot in there, I'm so happy it's going to be on more than one ship, because then you have the chance to experience the same fantastic lounge on board a different ship that's doing a different itinerary, or maybe a shorter voyage, then you don't want to commit to the 7 nights on the Treasure. But it's incredible. I think every Disney Parks fan or every Haunted Mansion fan needs to step foot in this lounge. It really just invokes the original idea of the Haunted Mansion, and it pays tribute to Raleigh Crump, who was one of the original creators of the attraction. And it's wonderful. It's full of lore and full of details, and I can't get enough of it. I'm going to stop talking about that now. Also on the Treasure, the open space lounge, like the Bayou and the Wish, is Skipper Society, which again is celebrating the Jungle Cruise from the Disney parks. So the Treasure is just like for Disney Parks fans, and that's me. So I can't wait to get back on board that ship. The Destiny has Haunted Mansion Parlor, like I said again, and then the open space is going to be the Sanctum, which for the very first time will have a Marvel themed bar lounge on a Disney cruise ship. So that's another big feat for Disney Cruise Line, to have Marvel theming in an adult space too.
And it's funny. I think some people saw 20,000 Leagues and were like, it was the one that surprised me the most. I really loved that space. But the other one is there's an Aristocats, and the name has just gone out of my head as I was talking about it. But it is a piano bar. It's on the Destiny. It's going to be themed around Cruella de Vil, which I'm really looking forward to. It is a very cool space. It will be. I'm really, really looking forward to it. The other one, if we want to find Elaine on the Disney Destiny, I know she will be at Cask and Cannon. This is the 20,000 Leagues bar. on the Destiny. It's going to be themed around Pirates of the Caribbean. Elaine, will you ever leave this space?
I don't think so. Probably not. And that's the one thing is too, on the Wish class of ships, so many of these lounges and bars and all of that, they're very open air. They're very open, unlike the adult district on the other ships where you're kind of entering this area and they're all their own separate space and they're all enclosed and you have to seek them out kind of a thing. These are, one, they're spread out, but they're all very open air with the exception of the Star Wars and the Haunted Mansion. Those are a separate door. And this one is kind of the same way. It's upstairs behind the big, again, open air lounge where they're going to do a lot of the shows like Match Your Mate and that kind of thing. Yep. But it is a closed door. So I think it's definitely, on the Wish, they do a lot of trivia in there. And so I think probably Bingo. On these other trips, I think it's going to stay a little more adulty because it's kind of that closed door, closed off area. And it's very low key and chill. So I can't wait for the Pirates of the Caribbean one. And I will tell you, I loved the piano bar on the Wish. Again, the name, it's something to do with Cinderella. Chloe, what is it? It's
Nightingale.
Yeah, Nightingale. And it's Scat Cat Lounge on the Treasure. I finally popped back into my head.
Yes. I loved it on the Wish. Yeah. It was so nice. We went in there multiple evenings because the artists that were there playing were fantastic. Everybody that we talked to in there was great. It was very low key. Not a lot of people were in there. And so we went there most evenings and I really liked it a lot. Of course, by the time I got there in September, there were no more bird butt glasses. So that was disappointing. But yeah.
I wanted to just briefly talk about spa stuff. The spa is moved to a different location. So if you've been on the classic ships, it's up on the pool deck around there, deck 11, deck 12, somewhere around there. On this ship, it's down on deck 5 forward. That's where the main Senses spa is. And the other parts are kind of spread around. The main spa on deck 5 forward is also where the Rainforest Room is. And Chloe, did you get to spend any time in the Rainforest Room space on the Treasure or the Wish, frankly?
I didn't, not yet. Yeah. I did tour both of them on both ships, and they're identical. They're very, very expanded from the previous classes of ships. And I know I've talked about it in the past, but I feel like they've expanded the Rainforest Room for adults to have access to more hot tubs and just more adult exclusive space versus the pool deck that's on the Wish class now too. I feel like it's shrunk down since the earlier classes too. But
it's also louder. That back on the back of the ship, it's louder because you get all the noise from the Mickey, the water slide. So
yes, and there's only one hot tub on a larger ship. But all that aside, the Rainforest Room it looks incredible. I can't wait to spend time in there. I am planning on checking it out at least for a day on my voyage. I'm sailing on the Treasure later this year. And the Rainforest Room is one of my it's my quintessential pieces of cruising, especially on a longer voyage that I'm able to completely check out. I love spending a full day in there. And the one on the Wish class is really built for that. There's the Frigidarium, there's several saunas, there's hot tubs, there's those warm ceramic tile loungers that we love, different showers. So I can't wait.
And Elaine, I want to bring you in because I don't know if you got to to give folks an idea of where this is. If you've seen a top view of these class ships, they're at the very front. There's umbrellas that make the shape of Mickey Mouse. That's the Rainforest. That's the outdoor area of the Rainforest Room, and you get access to that if you do the Rainforest Room. Elaine, did you spend any time in the Rainforest Room on the Wish?
So I did not get rainforest passes while we were on the Wish, but I did go in there and tour it and look around because I just didn't want to give up any of the time exploring the Wish. But I do think it is really nice. Like you said, it's open air, which is very different from the other ships. But I have talked to people that really do like to go in there. They enjoy, especially adults that are traveling with their laptop, they can go in there and they plant themselves in there and spend the day working because they've got an open air area that is still quiet. There's lots of shade, that kind of thing. So from everybody that I have talked to, they really do like the Rainforest Room on this class of ships a lot. So
just a pro tip in terms of planning, that outside space is not open at night. They found that the light reflected up onto the bridge and they had trouble seeing. And we don't want that to happen. So it's not open at night, but during the day it is open. So just FYI. Let me quickly talk about itineraries, and then we're going to talk about why you would choose one over the other. Itineraries at Disney Wish, easy. It's doing 3 and 4 night Bahamian itineraries out of Port Canaveral. So every Friday it goes on a 3 night, every Monday it goes on a 4 night. That's what she does. So very nice, very regular, and there are some good discounts out there for Disney Wish itineraries. The Disney Treasure is doing 7-night Caribbean itineraries out of Port Canaveral. It toggles between the Eastern and the Western. So if you want to do one of those, that's when we're doing the Eastern for Thanksgiving. Very much looking forward to that. And the Disney Destiny will be based out of Fort Lauderdale's Port Everglades. The ship will be doing 3, 4, and 5-night, by and large, itineraries. And they have a handful of 7-night, and it's going to the Bahamas and the Caribbean. So, Chloe, let me start with you. As you talk to folks and people say, okay, which ship should I do? How do you guide folks to which ship to do?
I mean, I feel like a large part of, choosing your ship obviously is the itinerary. Do you enjoy 3 or 4 night voyages? Do you want to kind of dip your toes into the Disney Cruise Line experience, or do you want to completely check out and have a longer extended Disney cruise vacation? Because the Treasure is doing 7-night itineraries. I know that's not for everybody, but I love 7-night itineraries. I feel like I'm able to completely relax and get to know the ship and just be completely enveloped in that trip. I love it so much. And you're able to go to, different islands in the Caribbean that you might not be able to on the simpler itinerary on a Bahamian cruise. And then it usually does stop at Castaway Key or Lookout Key, so you still got that Disney private island experience. When it comes to the ship, I'm very biased. We haven't experienced the Destiny yet, obviously, but when it comes to the Wish versus the Treasure, I would much rather spend my time on the Treasure. I personally, I would like to give the Wish another shot one day, but my only experience was on the christening cruise, and it was well before the maiden voyage, and it was not ready for media or guests. And we kind of had previews of shows and of show moments in the Grand Hall. We also had a lot of unfinished areas, and it wasn't the best introduction to that ship, especially it being, an all new class. And I feel like it was kind of given an unfair shot to compare from the classic ocean liner feel that we're so used to this all new Disney branded ship through and through. And when it came to the themed areas, I stepped onto the Treasure, knowing that this was the exact same layout as the Wish, and knowing that I wasn't a huge fan of that, especially the adult areas like I had talked about. But I stepped on the Treasure, and I just felt the warmth and the familiarity somehow of the dream and the fantasy had given me before. I feel like they're able to put a lot more detail and a lot more work into the common spaces. I've heard that they've improved the Wish as well, so I don't feel like it's a fair shot that I'm giving it right now. Again, I'd like to go visit it again just to compare, but I personally recommend the Treasure. I'm a huge fan of the Disney parks on, Brought to Sea. I've been dreaming about that ever since I went on my first Disney cruise as a kid. I wanted some kind of Disney parks element on the cruise ship, whether that was a ride or a themed space. And now we finally have that with the Treasure. And we have 3 of them on that ship. Not to mention, we've talked about how wonderful Moana is. And everybody needs to see that show. Whether you're familiar with the movie or not, you're going to love this show. And I can't wait for the Destiny. I can't wait for the Lion King restaurant. I can't wait for the Hercules show. Those two things alone, like, speak to my 90s kid nostalgia loving heart. So I would absolutely recommend the Treasure to start if you can do a 7-night. But if you just want to try out the new class of ships and see if it's for you, the Wish is easy to do, the 3 or 4 night. Again, like, kind of just taste test how you feel about this. So compare what you like. If you prefer princesses over, the adventurous stories, I guess, or over parks themed specific spaces, the Disney Wish is perfect for princess lovers. They literally call it their castle at sea, and it has the Frozen themed dining experience. You have a Little Mermaid show. It feels like it's made for princess fans. And I don't have anything against that, but it's just it's a different feel. It's a little bit more of a modern feel than the warmth and I don't know. I can't really pinpoint how I feel on the Treasure, but it's familiar. It's oddly familiar. Within minutes of being on that ship, I was like, oh, I'm home. And I can't explain it, but I'm in love with that ship. So very biased.
It's very well done and very enveloping. It is. It's just everywhere you look, you're seeing something that is awesome. Elaine, talk a little bit about how, because we have to deal with this. Certainly, one is price. The Disney Treasure, much more expensive. 7-night cruise. It's more money. So those 3 and 4 night can be a good starter place. But how else do you guide folks as they say, okay, which ship should I do?
So things that we've already talked about is going to be, your itinerary price. Throw that all out of the window and you just want to choose a ship. As far as the Wish goes, I personally, like Chloe said a little bit of it, it's very princess heavy because each of the themed decks as far as the staterooms are a different princess. I feel like the ship as a whole is really geared towards families with kids that are like under 12. I really think it is truly geared towards young families. And just overall, that is how I felt the entire time. I, as an adult traveling without kids when I went on it, loved it, still loved it. But I do feel like when people are asking me about the differences in the ship, I do believe that is what that is geared for. And I do believe that the Treasure is geared more for adults that are just diehard theme park fans, because those are the things that it brought in. And the Destiny is, it's kind of that in-between area because it's got a lot of nostalgic IP. It's got a lot of the hero and villain and that kind of thing. So that's an even different group of people. And I really kind of like how they really do kind of have a target audience for each ship, which they have not had before. The 4 ships, they're all for everybody. And I really do think that there are target markets for each of the ships. And with the Destiny, and we didn't really talk about it, but it's going to be doing like 4 and 5 nights out of Fort Lauderdale. And so it'll be visiting like both Disney private islands, and there's also some like Caribbean, like 5-night Caribbean ones. So again, it's that in-between area because it's longer than the Wish and it's shorter than the Treasure in their sailings. So there's a lot to look at, but I do think there are target markets for each of them.
Yeah, I think they're again, if you toss out budget and how long you go for a cruise, there are a lot of opportunities out there. I think they've improved on the Wish a lot. The Wish, unfortunately, it was just came to fruition during COVID and had all the challenges that came with that. And so when it was rolled out, it just wasn't ready for prime time. So sometimes first impressions, and there were so many changes that I think people got rubbed the wrong way, and so it has this. But it's all are lovely ships. Put me on a Disney ship, I'm pretty happy. So it's a great place to spend time. So go and enjoy. And if you're a Marvel fan, you know where you're going to be is on the Destiny. So awesome. Thank you guys so much. With that, we're gonna wrap this up. We went long, but just there's so much going on these ships and so much intellectual properties to talk about. And we wanted to spend the time. So thanks for for hanging with us. As always, we'd love for you to book with Dreams Unlimited Travel. Literally, it helps us do what we do here. And I'll tell you, I was a Dreams client before I was a Dreams agent, so I know the value. It's great, and we're going to help you plan that perfect trip. The best place to start, dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Start with Disney Cruise. Just click on Disney Cruise. From that page, it will ask you a cruise date and itinerary. On the second page at the very top, there's a pull-down menu of all the Dreams agents. You can select one, or you don't have to. They're all awesome. So, Chloe, thanks for doing this. Thanks for writing that original story that started us on this journey. I really appreciate it, and thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me again.
And she hinted that she's going on a cruise, so we're going to have her back to do a little bit of a trip report when she does that, see what new impression she has of the Disney treasure. So we'll have you back. Elaine, any final thoughts or anything? Otherwise, how can people get in touch with you?
The easiest way is just like Chris said, if you are looking for a quote on a vacation, just go straight to dreamsunlimitedtravel.com, put your request there. If you'd like to book with me, you can choose my name if you like. Otherwise, my email is Elaine, ELAINE at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com.
And I am Chris V at dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Yes, there's a Chris, so I'm Chris V if you want to reach me. I'm also on social media at Yensid Travel. And Yensid is Disney spelled backwards. It's also the Sorcerer and Sorcerer's Apprentice. There you go. Disney trivia for the day. And as always, thank you to our producer, Jimmy Valdez. He's going off to, well, we're going to have him back to talk about his trek to Hong Kong and Shanghai. And we'll all be watching on the media platforms with immense amount of jealousy. So thank you, Jimmy. And thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Depending on where you're watching or hearing this, please like, subscribe, leave us a review. It really does help us. I know it seems silly, but there are these things called algorithms, and it's how people find us, and so it's really, really helpful. So thank you for doing that. If you have topics you'd like to share with us, you can leave it on our YouTube comments. I check that regularly. Also, our DCL fan Facebook page, where there are a bunch of people discussing Disney Cruise Line, or you can just send me an email, chrisv@dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you real soon. Safe travels, and we'll see you next time.